Right on, right on.
It's our weekly visit with our TSN hockey insider, Pierre LeBrun. And fresh off that Habs win over Toronto on Wednesday night, that's where we're going to start with Pierre. Pierre, you and I talked about it a little while ago. The Habs were I guess you could say they at least inquired about the availability of Yaroslav Askarov in the offseason. So, you know, their goaltending situation was seen as somewhat fluid. But, boy, Sam Montembeault really came out and made a bit of a statement, didn't he?
Oh boy, did he steal game one for the Montreal Canadiens on opening night. And let me take you down the Team Canada route with that performance by Samuel Montembeault. Jay, if you allow me. The post-Carey Price international best-on-best era is about to come back for Team Canada with the Four Nations in February. Haven't played best-on-best since the 2016 World Cup of Hockey, when Carey Price, of course, was in net. It's not the same thing for Team Canada as it was forever. It used to be the Team Canada management would debate among Hall of Famers and Vezina Trophy winners to decide who would be in goal. That's not what's at play right now for Don Sweeney, the GM of the Four Nations team for Canada, and for Doug Armstrong, the Olympic GM, who's also a part of things. Jordan Binnington, Stuart Skinner, Aiden Hill won the Cup in 23 with Vegas, and of course Samuel Montembeault. Those are your four candidates right now. And I'm not saying those guys aren't good goalies. Skinner just went to the Stanley Cup final. Jordan Binnington is a Stanley Cup champions. And Montembeault won the World Championship for Canada a couple of years ago. They're all good NHL goalies, but it's not the same as it's been in the history of Team Canada. So for Samuel Montembeault, who I think starts the season on the outside looking in behind Binnington and Skinner at the very least, this is quite a way to grab the attention of Team Canada. Because remember this too, while the tournament itself, the Four Nations, won't be played till mid-February, the rosters have to be sent in by December 2nd. Team Canada has 7.5 weeks of this regular season to decide which three guys they're naming as their three goalies.
So fascinating. Hey, Pierre, maybe we can fast-track Linus Ullmark Canadian citizenship because I'm sure you heard the Sens have signed Linus to a 4-year, $33 million extension with an AAV of 8.25, which matches the AAV of his former Bruins teammate Jeremy Swayman, who signed that 8-year deal with Boston last weekend. And when the deal kicks in for the 2025-2026 season for Ullmark and Swayman will be the league's fourth highest-paid active goaltenders behind Sergei Bobrovsky, Andrei Vasilevsky, and Connor Hellebuyck.
There's a change in the air, and you can feel it from the outside, but also for someone that's coming in now and can see it in the locker room and talking to the players, talking to the coaching staff, even the medical teams and trainers, everybody that works around or in this organization. There's this upbeat, positive thinking, and you can sense that we're not happy with where we are, and we want to be a playoff team. We want to have success again, and we're not satisfied, and that's what I like about it.
So, Pierre, tell us how this came together, and if you could maybe follow it up with a bit of an update on the other goaltending situation we're all following, the Igor Shesterkin situation.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I will say that I didn't anticipate this extension for Ullmark happening this quickly. When I ran into Senators owner Michael Landauer last week in New York at the Board of Governors meeting, what he said at the time was that, yes, priority number one was to extend Linus Ullmark, but that they were waiting to see how comfortable he was getting in his new surroundings before they would get more serious in talks. Well, I guess 7 days later, they got pretty comfortable and serious in talks. And, you know, a lot of us jumped right away on the fact that his AV in this extension, $8.25 million, is identical to his good pal in Boston, Jeremy Swayman. And in fact, shouldn't Swayman have been in Ottawa with Ullmark and maybe a little chest pump between the two of them when this deal got announced on Wednesday? Both making tremendous money now, and good on them. And for the Senators, this is huge for the organization. This is a team that has been more known for losing notable players than signing them. And this really speaks to the culture change that is happening with the Ottawa Senators, with Michael Landauer and Steve Staios, and, you know, the way things are being done now with the Ottawa Senators, that Linus Ullmark hasn't even played a regular season game yet and says, you know what, actually, yeah, let's do this. And listen, he got paid. Let's not kid ourselves. But I think that speaks to what the Senators are trying to do there. As far as the goalie market, we talked about this the last couple of weeks, Jay. I mean, this is incredibly noteworthy what's happening. This is the position that has regressed, or at least not gone forward financially like number one defensemen and number one centers and number one wingers. Top goalies have just not gone up the same way salary-wise. And suddenly, Swayman jumps up high. Ullmark jumps up high. Joey Decord, a longtime guy who's worked his way up to where he is, he gets $5 million a year, right?
Yep.
And of course, Igor Shesterkin, whenever he signs, whether that's with the Rangers or with another team next July, will be the highest paid goalie in NHL history. The goalie market has just flipped, literally in the span of 7 days here. Teams have been trying to say we don't believe in investing cap dollars in that position anymore, and we saw that. I got to tell you right now, can you imagine if Connor Hellebuyck was up right now, as opposed to 15 months ago, as far as his market value, maybe arguably the most consistent goalie in the league with 2 Vezinas, he'd be making more than $8.5 million.
You make such a great point about Joey Decord. When I saw that 5x5, I thought, well, that's what Darcy Kemper signed as a straight-up free agent a couple of years ago with Washington. Like, it's amazing how the market's changed. You're so right about that. Hey, speaking of great days, the Panthers had a great day Tuesday, as you know, Pierre. Okay, they beat the Bruins to open their season. They raised the banner. That's exciting. And then at the end of the game, they announced they've signed Carter Verhaeghe to an 8-year extension at $7 million on the AAV. And he deserves it. He's just had a terrific career. It's been awesome to see. But there's a couple of pending UFAs that Florida still has to worry about, and Sam Bennett and Aaron Ekblad. Any update there?
Yeah, so I had a chance to speak with Bill Zito, who signed Carter Verhaeghe to that extension on Tuesday. And, the second half of the offseason for Florida, and they barely had an offseason, as you know. They barely had a week to re-sign Sam Reinhart. But the second half of the offseason really has been to establish talks with Verhaeghe, with Aaron Ekblad, and with Sam Bennett. They got one done. It's not a guarantee they get all 3 done. They do want to get all 3 done. Bill Zito, he has said this a couple times over the last month, but there is a path in his mind where he can get all 3 done. But that's all he's going to say. And the reason is he can't say the rest. I'll say it. He can get all 3 done if they're willing to take less.
Right.
Carter Verhaeghe, as much as, $56 million, he just made, he just signed the best contract of his career. He still left money on the table. I mean, if Carter Verhaeghe is on the market next July 1st, he's getting at least $8 million a year.
Yep. I
mean, there's no argument there. But Sam Bennett and Aaron Ekblad are going to have to make similar decisions. And it's okay if they decide to go to market, by the way. Brandon Montour, I think, was brilliant to get that contract in Seattle. He wasn't going to get it in Florida. But if Bennett and Ekblad want to stay on the Stanley Cup champions, they're going to have to take less than market value. That's been communicated, I believe, in those talks. And right now, I don't think those negotiations point to anything imminent. That might be a situation where it plays out here for some of the season, if not all of it. We'll see where it goes.
Before I let you go, I'm about to speak to Luke Wilson after the commercial break. Pierre, is there any information you want me to pass on? I know you're very, very proud of your Cowboys on Sunday night.
I mean, a little more positivity after winning in Pittsburgh on the road, a grinding victory where they don't have their star pass rushers. And Dak Prescott with an absolute clutch last-minute drive. Come on, let's give the Cowboys their due once in a while. And listen, I'm not picking them to beat Detroit on Sunday. I'm a realist. But I thought it was a little negativity in your post-game hit there for the Cowboys. I almost texted you guys, but I didn't.
Okay, well, we'll see how they do against the Lions. And, boy, if they beat the Lions, we might have to call Pierre on Sunday to chat about that.